Wait.
Shocker.
I didn't say
Yeah, you did, McLovin.
I just said, I think Alex is more comfortable maybe throwing a catchable ball. He completed 68% of his passes. He's not going to zip it in there.
Back a little bit, Goober. Okay.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
We're going.
You can pop him.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
You want it lower?
No? Is it over?
We're back.
Is it over?
Those don't look like check down throws to me.
No, he wasn't checking down to a running back. That's, of course, Andrew Perloff of the Dan Patrick Show and friend of SI Now as well, taking the brunt of that high heat from Alex Smith. Welcome to SI Now. I'm Ryan Aselta, joined by Robin Lundberg. And Robin, so far, Super Bowl week, Eagles and Patriots has been a very quiet week, so it figures the biggest news of the week comes from two non-Super Bowl teams.
That's right. Alex Smith was traded from Kansas City to Washington in exchange for a third-round pick and cornerback Kendall Fuller. Of course, this means the end of the Kirk Cousins era in D.C., as Smith will sign a 4-year extension worth $94 million with $71 million in guarantees. What's your initial reaction to the deal?
I mean, I guess it's wow on many fronts. First of all, the money that they gave Alex Smith in the extension here. Statistically, these guys are almost identical. So if you wanted this type of quarterback in Washington, you probably should have re-signed Kirk Cousins after last season to the same amount of money. That didn't make a whole lot of sense on that front for me. When it comes to statistically, let's look at the matchup right there. Last season, the two of them almost identical when it comes to passing yards, completion percentage, touchdowns. I mean, the interceptions, Cousins threw 13 last year to Smith's 5. So I think it's a good fit for Alex Smith. He gets a lot of money late in his career. He's going to turn 34 this May, so getting big-time bucks, 4 more years added on to his contract. That's a good thing. Now, Cousins presumably is now going to hit the open market. Should be very interesting because the teams that need a quarterback, you like the Jets there, the Broncos, the Browns, they have 4 of the top 6 picks in the draft. So if someone was to sign Cousins, there's a big-time trickle-down effect in the first part of the draft.
You wonder how much the negotiations with Cousins played into this decision. I mean, no diss to Alex Smith. I mean, he's actually the first player in NFL history to lead the league in touchdown to interception ratio and then be moved to a new team. And if you're Washington, I could at least see going, all right, we don't want to go with a young guy that we don't think there's anybody on the market. But just the trade itself, it's a home run for Kansas City. You knew that they were going to be moving on to Patrick Mahomes anyway. I mean, that was talk during last season whether they should bench Alex Smith. So to get a third-round pick and a starting caliber top-flight defensive back in the deal, I think that's a great win for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, Mahomes started 1 game, and they're giving him the keys to the Mercedes right now with that team that's built to win right now. Obviously, a playoff team. We'll see how that plays out, and we'll see how it goes for Smith in Washington. I don't know if there's enough talent offensively to surround Alex Smith. I don't know if they add a little bit there. They got a couple weapons on offense, but not quite what they had in Kansas City. Should be very interesting to see how it fits and the trickle-down effect, like we said, where Cousins ends up. We're going to have much more on the trade coming up later in the show with SI's Tim Rohan, but later in the show we'll do that. In the meantime, in the NBA, the month of January has not been kind to the Cavaliers. Tuesday night, the Cavs suffered their 8th loss in the last 13 games and lost forward Kevin Love in the process. Love reportedly sustained a broken hand, is going to miss the next 6 to 8 weeks. Robin, with this injury, do you expect the Cavs, who are already struggling right now on the court, do you expect them to continue to plummet?
First of all, I wonder if Isaiah Thomas asked to see Kevin Love's x-rays just to confirm he was actually hurt there with the talk they had in their team meeting before. But as far as the injury on the court and the serious aspect of it, I don't think this changes that much. Of course, it's bad news for them. I mean, he's been their second-best player this year. He's had a nice all-star season. But the Cavs' problems remain. The problems were there with Kevin Love. And defensively, that's the real issue they've got. I think they can actually, make up for his loss on offense if they shift LeBron to a bigger spot. He plays more of the power forward. Channing Frye can do a lot of what Love does as a floor spacing big. But their issues are what we've been talking about, and that's the backcourt, the lack of perimeter athleticism, and referencing Isaiah Thomas again, as bad as they were on defense before, they got worse once he's gotten into the lineup, both offensively and defensively. He was a -25 last night. He has a -15 net rating on the season. Those are the problems that exist no matter who else is around, and they're going to be there whether Kevin Love was in the lineup or not.
Yeah, obviously this is a big loss. Kevin Love's an all-star type of talent, but I think LeBron shed some light on what this season has been like, saying that the loss is big, especially when we're just trying to figure out how we're going to play every night. Different lineups, getting everybody in the flow. We don't need to have Kevin go out like that. That's exactly how it's been for the Cavs all season. The adjustment to post-Kyrie, the adjustment to having Isaiah Thomas in the lineup, now another adjustment to having Kevin Love off the court for 2 months. He'll come back with 7 games left. Say you max out that 6 to 8 weeks at 8 weeks. He comes back with 7 games left in the regular season. Overall, I don't think it affects them in the East. They're not going to fall lower than a 4 seed. Right now, they're the 3 in the East. I don't see them dropping that much. But here's the problem. They're going to come back with a week left in the season, 2 weeks or so, and then have to adjust again to get ready with the playoffs and get Love back in the mix. Till then, I think it's LeBron and Isaiah and everyone else just kind of falling in.
You know who the Cavs' third leading scorer in points per game is this year? It's actually Derrick Rose. That shows you the state of their roster.
That's the depth problem.
The Cavs are a bad basketball team, and something that's been unspoken a little bit as of late is LeBron James is struggling as well. So he was elevating them early in the season with his brilliance. When he's just playing at a good but not LeBron-like level, then we see what's taken.
But let me ask you, can you call a team with LeBron James, that's 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference, can you call them bad, though? I mean, they're not what
Well, it's not possible to have a bad basketball team if LeBron's on it.
I guess that's the point I'm making there.
But the rest of the team is a bad basketball team, and when he's playing bad by his standards, then you see them sputter out of control, as we've seen.
Yeah.
Speaking of James's, another one's had a great season, and that's James Harden, 60, 10, and 11. Those were Harden's point, rebound, and assist totals in a Rockets win over the Magic last night, making him our adrenaline performer presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Not just an impressive stat line, but a historic one, as Harden became the only player in NBA history to register a 60-point triple-double, adding in 4 steals for good measure. The Beard was 19 of 30 from the floor and 17 of 18 from the free throw line, and upped his season averages to 31.6 points, 5 rebounds, and 9.1 assists per game. Will this performance be what people remember when MVP votes come up?
Oh, how can it not? I mean, it's historic. You saw it. It's never been done. Those are some big-time numbers. And what James is doing, we saw his stat line for the season, the 31, 9, and 5. But what he's done for this Houston team, all of a sudden he's elevated his game, which has taken the Rockets into true contenders now in the West. They're 3 games back of the Warriors. This is a team, I'm starting to get convinced now, if Harden's going to play like this is a team that could take the Warriors to 6, 7 games, possibly take them down. And you know, when it comes to the MVP race, I think Harden's the leader right now, but it's a crowded landscape, a little different than years past. You know, I looked at Harden's numbers last night, made me think of Westbrook last year. It makes you look at just how impressive Westbrook really was last year. I mean, this is the first triple-double with Harden scoring 45 or more points this season. Westbrook had 5 of those games last year, and one of them came in a playoff series. So Westbrook was phenomenal last season. He's part of the mix. But if you look at the MVP race, is Harden the guy at this point? It seems just like there's 4, 5, 6 guys who could be in that conversation.
If the voting ended today, Harden wins it. But I don't know if this necessarily sways it at the end of the season because it is so tight. I mean, Harden has been great. I mean, he's been great since he got to Houston. He now has more 50-point games than the rest of the Rockets franchise history combined. But if you're looking at that MVP race, there's about 6 or 7 guys who are in the conversation, whether it's James Harden, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, you mentioned, the 2 guys from the Warriors, Curry and Durant, you know, Giannis, Anthony Davis. You can keep on going. It's going to be one of the more interesting MVP races this season.
You know what's interesting too, Robin? This is the time of year where we kind of pump the brakes a little bit. We haven't even reached the All-Star break yet, and we're talking about locking up MVPs. I guess performances like what we saw last night from Harden make us think he's locking up the hardware at this point, but a lot of basketball still to be played.
Football still to be played, of course. It's Super Bowl week in Minnesota, and if you're a Patriots or Eagles player, you might want to be careful not to throw a turkey in the air and chase it. Confused? Us too. Watch this.
Here we go. Let's go.
Welcome to Minnesota, the host of Super Bowl 52. Let's test some of our NFL players on their knowledge of Minnesota state law.
I'm from Minnesota, by the way, so I might have an unfair advantage, but I still want to know.
Minnesota, they like their turkey.
Live or frozen?
That is false.
False.
I feel like that'd be a weird law that they got out here, so I'm going to go true with that one.
I'll keep that in mind. I won't do it.
What? Seriously?
I had the same reaction when I found out that one too, my man.
That is the official muffin of Minnesota. Blueberry.
True. With confidence.
Should be blueberries because it's kind of the same color as the Vikings.
I'm going to say that's true.
Yeah, you're right.
Who doesn't love blueberry muffins?
Blueberries are good, but if a strawberry is fire, I'm not going to touch the blueberry. That ain't got nothing to do with me.
They can play bingo whatever they want to, not just twice a week, right?
I feel like that's true.
That's false.
Bingo is kind of a drug.
That's false.
I'm going to say false.
That is correct. It used to be a law back in 2015.
Bingo's a great sport. Great sport.
No, they can play bingo every day.
I went with the whole like Scantron, true. The next one's probably false.
Well, I was right 2 years ago. So don't even get me on the false thing. Like, that was the right statement 2 years ago. Give me in a time machine and Michael J. Fox, I was right.
St. Cloud, Minnesota.
You sound a little suspect right there. I don't know. Say that again.
That's got to be false, too. There's no way that's true.
I read about that. It's true.
No, actually, it's false.
But somewhere else it is. I read something I don't.
That's a good one.
Who added this in here? This was never a law to begin with.
All right, let's welcome in Tim Rowan of the MMQB. Lots to get to here, Tim. Let's first revisit the Alex Smith trade to Washington. Why did this trade happen? Is it about the ability of Smith, the ability of Cousins, the financials, the quarterback market? Can you put your finger on one aspect of why this deal went down?
It was the Redskins. They just decided that they'd reached the end of the line with Cousins, right? I mean, they had him for a couple years under the franchise tag. They were paying him an exorbitant amount of money, and he had the high passer ratings, but they never got over the hump. They never made the playoff run that they thought they'd make. And if you're going to pay a guy, that much money, you expect to have that type of result. And so, they just decided, it was time. He was reaching free agency again. He was going to ask for a lot of money again. They had to let him walk. But it's funny the timing, right? So I guess the Chiefs went out and, from reports, they were talking to a bunch of teams and they were putting out feelers. And the Chiefs clearly got the better end of the trade, right? You can bring in a third-round pick, Kendall Fuller, who great slot cornerback, saved $16 million, getting Alex Smith off the books, clears the way for Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, let's talk about Pat Mahomes. The move clears the way for him. He played one game basically last season. From what you saw, is he ready to take over the Chiefs' offense?
I don't know. I don't know if he's ready. I don't think anyone knows if he's ready, but you had to at some point, right? They traded, 2 firsts and a third to move up to get him last year. And, at some point it was going to have to be Pat Mahomes' time in Kansas City. But it's funny. It's like a new era, right? You pair him with the other rookie, Kareem Hunt, and it's start of something new in Kansas City. I mean, it was going to have to happen. I think everyone kind of knew, probably, Alex Smith probably knew all year that this was going to happen. This is going to be the result.
A lot of ripple effects. I mean, how Smith does in Washington, how Mahomes does in Kansas City, and where Cousins winds up. The Broncos, the Jets, where do you think he should land?
Well, Peter King, a bunch of people saying the New York Jets, right? As soon as free agency opens, the tabloids, the fans are going to be clamoring. They're missing a franchise quarterback. If I'm Kirk Cousins, Denver looks like a pretty attractive place, right? You get the 2 top receivers, Demaryius Thomas and Sanders, top defense, John Elway. If I was Cousins, that'd be a place I'd consider. And it comes down to what are Kirk's priorities, right? The Browns and the Jets have a lot of cap space that they could throw at him, and he could be the face of that team, face of that franchise, the face of that rebuild. Or you could go to Denver and be a part of a team that probably be a playoff team right away with him, in that mix.
Of course, that's stolen the headlines. There hasn't really been that much coming from the Super Bowl this week. I mean, you're a great writer. Perhaps you could be the guy who puts a new spin on New England and what they're doing. But do you notice a lack of buzz around this game compared to other ones?
There's a lack of buzz. I mean, the Patriots, the Patriots have been in 8 Super Bowls, I don't know. So the thing that I've noticed that it's been kind of subtle, is how relaxed does New England seem? And just they seem like they're playing with house money. Belichick coming off the plane with his dad's hat, Brady smiling, and he's already won 5 of these things. He's already got, they're both already on the Mount Rushmore of football, in the history of the game. At this point, it's like, if they lose another one, I don't think it's that big of a deal to them. It seems like they're loose. It seems like they're actually enjoying this one, after the last couple wins.
Maybe the biggest story has been Rob Gronkowski's status. He says he'll play, that he could clear concussion protocol today. Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that he is in the game?
You've seen that he's told reporters that he's going to play, and I think, you believe that, right? He's had 2 weeks to recover, or he's going to have 2 weeks to recover after the concussion. Head injuries aren't anything to really play with. I think that's why it's a big storyline, because this is, high-profile game. Rob Gronkowski, big player. But I think the important point is Gronkowski didn't play in the last Super Bowl. He missed a lot of the AFC Championship game. Brady and Belichick know how to win without him. Obviously he'd be a big factor if he was in there. But Brandon Cooks stepped up. Amendola stepped up. They'll find a way. But I think Gronk will play.
Yeah, there's no way he's missing this game. He's doing interviews. He was at a Madden event last night, pumping that up. If he was truly suffering from a concussion at this point, there's no way we're seeing him out and about. I think he'll be on the field. A shameless plug here for SI.com. You got to check out Tim's piece on Warren Sapp. This was entertaining, Tim, revealing. This was a weekend you spent with him, which started at a strip club in Miami, and you learned quite a bit about him. Warren coming off the arrest for assault, soliciting prostitution at the Super Bowl a couple years ago. He lost his job at the NFL Network. Spending a couple days with him down there, what did you learn about him?
He's a complicated guy. As you kind of alluded to, he's so charismatic and he's so outgoing. He's got this energy, which is what made him, such a personal, famous football player. He went into broadcasting. From everything you hear, everyone at the NFL Network loved him. And then he gets arrested for prostitution, or soliciting prostitute, and for alleged assault. And he's just we talked about that incident at the Phoenix Super Bowl in 2015. And now he's transitioning his life. He's working as a concussion advocate on behalf of the CTE Center in Boston, this prestigious, center that's leading the charge in CTE research and head trauma. So he's a very interesting guy, complicated, and it's a nuanced story, and I hope people give it a chance.
Yeah, I talked to him recently when he was discussing CTE and the effects and how he thinks it might impact him, and that young people shouldn't play football. But since then, there was what happened with the NFL Network. How has he responded to the latest accusations of sexual harassment while there?
Yeah, so with the recent NFL Network stuff, he was accused of the makeup artist, urinating in front of her in the restroom, showing her photos of women on his phone, and then he gave sex toys to members of the makeup staff. And he's responded by basically denying everything except the sex toys. And then he has gone on to say that his explanation was basically the members of the makeup staff had asked for the toys, and there were novelty items that were designed to look like mascara. And again, we're getting into the weeds here, but in short, shortly after that came out, he went on the radio in Miami and basically said, where's the harassment at? Why am I always the bad guy? And, where that may not be appropriate behavior, it's alleged, he denies it. It's just this, it's complicated, but his basic reaction has been, this isn't harassment, and he's denied everything except for the sex toys, so.
Got to have been the most unique story you've worked on, Tim. Not only just the talking points, the storyline, but the location. You're at a strip club. You're at a party where there are drugs in the area here. Not your everyday football story for the MMQB.
No. When you're hanging out with Warren, I guess that's what happens. But no, it was an interesting weekend. You're right, and I was fortunate that Warren was it let me into his world for a few days, and and he's so open, and a lot of people are surprised, but they think he should have censored himself. But I think it's an honest look. That's how he lives. He's at private dinners, taking me to a strip club the first night, and
sharing joints with the chef at the restaurant, right?
Yeah, sharing joints with the chef at the restaurant. That's what if you rent out the top room of the Italian steakhouse, I guess you can do that. But I don't know. That's Warren. But
good stuff, Tim.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sad that the Super Bowl this year doesn't involve Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, to me, was the one guy who we could have passed the mantle between Brady and Carson Wentz.
And then we could have just done dueling Carsons the whole time.
That is bizarre.
I did not know that. That is weird. It is interesting that Philly made it all the way. It's almost like you get so sad, though, because if you're not a Patriots fan, no one wants to see the Patriots win anymore.
The Patriots will find a way to win this.
And people in Philadelphia with their thick Philly accents will be like,
The Philadelphia Eagles totally blew this one.
I had to grab a Coke Zero out of the fridge.
Grab a water ice and a cheesesteak just to wash down
I went down to Wawa on 5th and Locust and grabbed myself a water. I got to listen to Daryl Hall and John Oates.
I'm not a fan of Nick Foles.
Nick Foles, he didn't understand it.
So I love all the Philly fans that think that Nick Foles is going to have like a 150 QBR in the Super Bowl just because he did it once at home in this game. Now, Minnesota, great defense.
I'd say better defense than the Patriots.
But you are not. If you do it again, then we got a problem.
Matt Ryan had an amazing Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Let us not forget. They just
for 3.5 quarters.
For 3.5 quarters, he did great. You gotta play the full game against
the
Patriots.
Patriots are going to win again.
Get ready, New York. Linsanity is back.
Jeremy Lin is going to be going to Brooklyn.
Jeremy Lin became an overnight sensation in New York. That was with the Knicks. Now we put up jumpers in Brooklyn. The Nets introducing their new...
I've been working and waiting for this moment to play for the Nets, to play for a coach who's going to use me in the way I felt like I would be maximized.
Jeremy Lin will not return to tonight's ball game.
Nets need a timeout, and Lin is going to have to exit the floor.
He's out for another 3 to 5 weeks as we take a look at his...
You prepare, you do everything you can, and what actually happens is really, in a lot of ways, out of our control.
The new season is here as we join you tonight from Indianapolis, opening night in the NBA.
I came down the lane, I shot a layup, and I turned.
Lin goes down hard. You could hear the bang as he hit the floor.
It's like someone banged knees with me midair, and I looked at the replay and no one touched me.
Oh boy, Jeremy Lin is down.
I couldn't even straighten my leg, like my leg was bent and it was stuck in that bent position. I was like, just walk off on your own and it's not that bad or you'll be fine. And that clearly wasn't the case.
Jeremy Lin's season came to an abrupt end on Wednesday night. The Nets guard suffered a ruptured patella tendon during.
I think it's a shock. I think when Gordon Hayward goes down, it's you're right next to it. You feel it. It's your teammate. It's your.
My biggest question was kind of like, why now? Felt like I was at a place mentally and physically and with my game where I was ready and poised to kind of break out. Pretty sad on the car ride home, and then once I got home, I was like, all right, it's time to turn the page. Like, I had to take this 1 year off, but it'll impact me the rest of my career. I am back in town in Brooklyn for 3 days, and we're just going to eat with my grandmother, say hi, grab a meal while I'm in town. Anybody who's close to me kind of understands my relationship with my family, and they understand like I wouldn't be here without them, like in the times when I couldn't find the strength to even show up to my next game or show up to my next practice. Like my family would come and visit or like be there for me. They've always believed in me. Like in due time, I'll like overcome the obstacle that's in front of me. I haven't been able to play. 35 games, 36 games in 2 years. And this is true for pretty much every athlete. Like they will go through moments of self-doubt. Like I definitely had and will continue to battle certain thoughts or feelings. And my family has always kind of stuck by my side. My my grandmother. She was a trailblazer in a lot of ways, a leading female pediatrician. Her work was like really good. It brought her to the States. 北京烤鸭，当然知道怎么吃。She is known for her strong-willed and stubborn personality. Started really with her, and then the next one in the entire next generation is my mom, and then the next one out of me and all my cousins and siblings is me.
你不要受伤，那么你就有机会跟人家拼斗了的人，他们在等着给你受伤。对不对呀？你不要当了他们。
我不是故意受伤。
Through the journey, like I feel like you started to care more about like your heritage and like going back to China and Taiwan every year and just being the only Asian American NBA player. I think it started to matter more and how that kind of identifies you.
It created like an even stronger sense of pride behind it.
Oh.
That's a good sneeze, Jaden.
哦。
婆婆，你为什么有我这些治疗的？
哦，这你跟个我那样，这个你这样，比较少，要出门去，你给我开放了，可能在这真的来，因为我也当时生气。
She just said she likes her grandson.
啊？
就是你喜欢。
不是我喜欢。
Oh no, it's not. She doesn't.
我希望能毕业的。
你用中文解释。Easily the most impressive thing is not just the fact that fans have gone online to send really warm, like, messages or encouraging notes. It's the solidarity and the unification of fans. I have a picture made of like over 1,000 fan avatars, but they're all like put in different shades, and it's a picture of me on the court. I was able to bring people together to want to do something for me. Like I was like really, really blown away. Like it's been amazing. A lot of players have reached out. I would say the one that like I really didn't expect is Kenyon Martin called me and told me if I needed anything regarding the rehab process and whatever, and he talked about his knee injury, and I was like, man, that was really kind of him. And it's not just players, it's coaches, other head coaches, GMs, assistant GMs, scouts. It's like a family in one sense where like we compete, but like no one ever wants to see somebody like go through something like that, In this injury, I have to learn how to walk again. And then I have to learn how to jog. And then I have to learn how to run and cut and jump. With Nash, he won his MVP, both of them after he turned 30. Like age 30 to 35, 36 was like where he was really, really, really good. And that's kind of the goal for me. I understand you can win a bunch of championships and still want to win a championship the next season. It won't be enough. And there's nothing wrong with chasing championships. I just don't want it to be my end-all be-all. I want to succeed really for a lot of it is a platform to be able to promote the values that I believe in, to be able to share the gospel message to a lot of different people. Like those type of things are like, it's a deeper sense of purpose, which gives me a deeper sense of focus. Come October next year, that'll be my new year.
Last season in college football, we saw some game-breaking running backs make names for themselves. But guys like Saquon Barkley, Sony Michel, Darius Geis, and Ronald Jones, they're all headed to the NFL. So who is the next great athlete in the college backfield? Here's the top 5 running back prospects in the 2018 class. Georgia loses Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, but they are loading up with the #1 and #5 running backs in the class. They're absolutely crushing it. #1 overall is 5-star Zamir White, and this kid is just special. 6'1", 220-pound back. He rushed for more than 2,000 yards and 34 touchdowns in his senior season. He's an elite combination of speed, power, and elusiveness. He can run over guys or make them miss. UGA got a stud in White. And that's not it for the Dogs. They also signed the #5 running back in the class, and that's 4-star James Cook, younger brother of Vikings rookie Dalvin Cook, so clearly he's got good genes. Cook is 5'11", 190 pounds, and absolutely chiseled. He's just a natural. He's got great instincts, speed, balance, vision, and he can catch, so he can be a factor in the passing game as well. So Michel and Chubb are gone, but the Dogs are absolutely reloading. The #2 back in the class is headed to the U. The Hurricanes signed 5-star Lorenzo Lingard, a 6'1", 185-pound running back who recruiters have known for a while. Some of these guys just look grown when they're in 9th grade, and Lingard is one of those guys. He's a true north and south running back that plays with a lot of physicality and toughness, but he doesn't just plow over people. He's very agile, very elusive. He's a guy who will move the chains. Urban Meyer doesn't lose many top prospects out of Ohio, and he landed 5-star Jalen Gill in this class. The 6'1", 182-pound all-purpose back has a long and lean frame, and it works for now, but he'll need to add some weight at the next level. He's got good hands, so he'll be a factor in the passing game as well. Gill's game is smooth, he's elusive, and he runs great routes. And Penn State can't just up and replace a generational talent like Saquon Barkley, but they're going to try. Miles Sanders is waiting in the wings, and in 2018, they signed 5-star Ricky Slade. Not only does he have a great name, Slade does it all. He's got the vision, the speed, the quickness, the hands, the balance, the work ethic, the intelligence. There isn't much he doesn't do well. He's special, and if Penn State fans don't know his name yet, they will very soon. Stick with us here at SI.com and the Recruiting Corner as we head toward National Signing Day on February 7th.
We see some of your comments on Facebook and Twitter. Steven weighing in on the Alex Smith trade. The disrespect for Kirk Cousins, I swear.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he's always been disrespected. The last couple of years, he's had pretty big seasons statistically. Never got the respect that starts with your own football team not giving you respect and giving you a contract, right?
Terry says Alex Smith is a great quarterback and great person off the field as well. It is Kansas City's loss. Congrats to Washington. They have a great leader and athlete. So it feels like a lot of people think that both Alex Smith and Kirk Cousins have been disrespected a bit.
Yeah, Smith, a great quarterback?
Yeah.
I've heard he's a great guy. I don't know him personally. I've heard good things about him, but great?
I would go above average.
Yeah.
An above average
I'm fine with that.
The Rockets have been clearly above average this year. Don says this is no longer your father's Rockets. They will be heard from as the NBA playoffs get closer. That's a safe bet that we will hear from the Rockets as the playoffs get closer.
They will be heard from. Who are our father's Rockets? Would that be the Hakeem and Clyde Drexler? That was a pretty darn good team. Yeah, I know.
And PBR Torres Colon says Houston beating the Warriors is insane. Did you say that?
I didn't say that they would beat them. I said they have a chance now to push them to Game 6, Game 7, and possibly beat them. I'm not giving them the Western Conference crown just yet.
I'm not picking anyone against the Warriors. What Houston has done with Capella and Paul and Harden on the floor has at least made you entertain the thought, and that's entertaining.
Yes, that thought entertained and is in my mind going forward as we approach, as we said, the second half of the basketball season coming up. We're talking a lot of basketball, Robin, but Super Bowl week, still a couple days to go. Be sure to join us tomorrow when we talk much more about the Super Bowl, the Eagles, the Patriots, everything coming out of Minneapolis. That's tomorrow, 10:30 Eastern. And be sure to stick with us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the latest happenings in the world of sports right there. We'll see you tomorrow.